The 2023-2024 football season is upon us. My very first football season as a fan from start to finish. I decided on 8 teams that I'm going to follow this season. Some of these clubs I know a lot about. Some of these clubs I know very little about. Some of these clubs I have chosen based on a very rational approach. Some of these clubs I chose, as you'll see, for much less rational reasons, but maybe the club spoke to me in a certain way. So one of the clubs that I'm going to be following closely this season is an Argentine club, Boca Juniors. It's a club that they have lots of fans. I'll just put it out there. And they comment on my videos a lot. A lot of you of my subscribers are Boca Juniors fans and supporters. I love the atmosphere that I see around them. I don't know anything about them. I don't really know the current players that they have. I don't know the news that surrounds the club, but I'm going to be following them this year. Now, this year I'm predominantly going to be focusing on Europe. That's where the best football is being played right now currently, is in Europe, and so that's where I'm going to be predominantly focused. Those of you who follow the channel know that when I'm home, my home club in the MLS is FC Dallas. It's the only club that I really actually have emotional attachment to. But when it comes to football abroad, Europe right now is the most interesting to me, so you're going to see that most of these clubs play in Europe. I'm going to check out 2 clubs from the Bundesliga this year, and one of them is Borussia Dortmund. I think I said that right. I hope I said that right. That's a club that's interesting to me for a very simple reason, and that is they have wicked black and yellow kits. I really like the look of the club when they're on the pitch, and 2, Erling Haaland played there. Only reasons I have to support, or not to support, but only reasons I have to follow them. They're interesting to me. I like the ethos that surrounds the club. I don't know much of the history. I don't know the current players. I know that Jude Bellingham left there, and he's playing at Real Madrid. So I don't know much about Dortmund, but I'm going to be following this year, just kind of seeing what's going on around the club tactically, learning about the players who play there, and sort of what's happening in their culture as a fan culture. So Borussia Dortmund is one of those clubs I'm going to be checking out this year. The other club that I'm going to be checking out is Bayern Munich. They have a lot of history. They have a long history. It's probably the most prominent club in the Bundesliga in German football, and so that's intriguing to me. I figured it's a good introduction to the Bundesliga is to follow Bayern Munich and just to see what's going on there. I know that they might have signed Harry Kane. I don't know, it's not breaking news right now, but I did see today that Tottenham agreed to a $110 million offer for Harry Kane, and now Harry Kane has to decide if he's going to play for Spurs or if he's going to go to Bayern Munich. So I will be following along with Bayern Munich this year. Very interesting club to check out. Moving on to La Liga. Now, it's going to be hard for me to escape, actually, the news surrounding Barcelona and Real Madrid. They're the 2 dominant clubs in Spanish football, and their news is going to break through, and I'm going to still know what's going on with them, okay? So that's an easy answer, those 2 clubs. But the one that I'm going to be learning about this year and actually following and trying to dig in, I've got the notifications turned on for, is Atletico Madrid. They're a club that interests me, and the reason they interest me is because their kits are red, white, and blue. And I know it's not because it's the United States of America, but there's something about it that's familiar to me and makes me feel connected to them in some way. Beyond that, I know that they have a fierce rivalry with Real Madrid, and they kind of have this underdog mentality, something that I like, something that I'm going to try to watch closely as this year goes on. I don't know anything about Atletico Madrid. I don't know any current players on their roster right now. That's something that I'm going to figure out as the season progresses. I don't know what style or brand of football they play. I don't know who the coach is. I don't know anything. I just know their kits are cool, and they have a rivalry with Real Madrid. That's interesting to me. So I'm going to follow Atletico this year. And another club that I'm going to be watching this season is Juventus. In April, I did a series of videos on Italian football. as I was looking into the history of Italian football, the defenses that played in Italy decades ago. It was fascinating. It was easily the pinnacle of football in the world during that time, and so I learned a lot about Italian football during that series. Now, one club that just continuously kept coming up that month was Juventus. Seems like many of the greats who came from Italy in footballing history had at some point in time played at Juventus, and so it's a club that had a lot of history, had a lot of great players who have put the kit on. Plus, the black and white kits are just super clean, and so Juventus is the club in Italy that I find the most fascinating, and it's going to be the club that I'm going to be following this year. I've got their notifications on, and boy, did I see some news coming from Juventus when the fans stormed the pitch during a practice session because they do not want Lukaku on the field. So I do know that Juventus does not want Lukaku. Now we get to the Premier League. Here's where more of the rationality comes into play when I'm trying to think through which club I wanted to follow this year. At the current moment, English Premier League is the best football being played. So I'm obviously going to be following that league rather closely. There are 3 clubs. I haven't been able to choose a club to support in the Premier League yet, and largely that's because you don't really choose a team. You got to wait for a club to actually speak to you, and like one that it's just a feeling like that's the club I support. It's not really something that you can rationally, come up with arguments statistically. One of them is Brighton. I love De Zerbi as a coach, tactically, and I really, really like. I watched them play against Newcastle over here in the States as a friendly here before the season started. And I love the way that they play. I love their build-up play. I love the style that they play tactically. I like the coach De Zerbi. The blue is cool. The blue kits are cool, and they're a well-organized team. They play well together. They were fun to watch. Watching them play was actually pretty. I'm being serious. I watched it, and it was actually beautiful. The kind of football that they were putting on the field in the game that I watched. So, for that reason, Brighton are fun. It's a fun club. I've heard a lot of good things about how the club is managed from a top-down perspective, and so I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to follow Brighton this year. It's a club that I'm going to be very closely looking at. And then, of course, there's the 2 that most people on my channel know about, the 2 that I've been wrestling between for most of my journey here into the footballing world, and that is Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United. Notifications are on both of these clubs. With Tottenham, there's something about Tottenham that I connect with, and I don't know why. People have informed me that it's almost like someone coming over as an NFL fan and just instantly becoming a Browns fan or a New York Jets. Like, why would you choose those 2 clubs of any of the clubs to support? Doesn't seem like there's a really good idea for why. If you're not connected to the community, why would you choose to be a part of it? Something about the Spurs speaks to me because I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. We've covered this many times on the channel. I do think that that Manchester United is the closest comparison to my favorite team, and that is because they're high profile. They were fantastic in the 90s, and they're trying to recapture that dominance again. So for that reason, I'm going to be following both Tottenham and Manchester United. Tottenham have this ethos around them that they always let you down. And just, I think how sweet it would be for Tottenham to actually, finally put it together correctly. And for a first year supporting a club, for it to be the year that they finally get it, I think that would be very, very rewarding, just to see them finally do it. And with Manchester United, obviously, there's such a history there. So these 8 teams, I've got notifications turned on for each one of these teams. I'm going to be following their news, following their transfers, following everything happening around the clubs, and we'll see how this season goes. I am so thrilled to like have my first football season, like just to watch. I'm going to be watching as many games as I can get. I'm going to be watching and keeping up with as many storylines as I can, but predominantly I'm going to be focusing on the clubs that I laid out here in this video. What are your predictions? Who do you think is winning the league this year? Things like that, let me know down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.